My name is Alexandru, or you can call me Alex. It's easier like that. And today we're gonna talk, as Benny said, about data-driven subscriptions in Power BI service. And if I again the window, I will also be able to go through slides. So to tell you a little bit about myself, my name is Alexandru Puiu. I'm a technical director at Mindit.io. And I come from a background of software engineering and business intelligence. And in my professional experience, I came to and I had the chance to go through both sides of the coin and see what's the software engineering and application development part of things. And I also had the chance to work quite extensively in a business intelligence team, one of the biggest business intelligence platforms in Europe. And I came to the conclusion that data is not the new gold because we can run out of gold, but data is actually uh, the one of the most valuable things. And I like learning how I can use better data and how I can create better data through helping my colleagues and helping our partners and customers to really leverage the data that they create through their applications. As it says there, I'm passionate about data, applications, and cloud, and anything in between. I'm a quite technical person, if I would say so. Um and my mantra is I do not know it yet because I really like to take challenges, especially technical challenges, but not only, and really go deep into things and try to understand what's making things spin. Uh, okay, so data-driven subscriptions. What's the challenge? Um, for many of you, I guess I hope you've used data-driven subscriptions in the past. If not, I will go briefly through what it means. So, as Benny said, it comes from the good old days of developing SQL Server reporting services reports. And what are they used for? In general, when you have different reports or reports that address to different audiences, you would try to parameterize those reports and give the audience what they need. And how we do that, like giving them the latest sales reports on Sunday afternoon. You'd not want to do that yourself and log in on Sunday and send those reports. So you'd create a subscription. What do you do if you have, I don't know, 10 departments to which you need to send those reports, let's say the sales report? Well, you can create 10 subscriptions that you need to manage, or you can actually leverage the data-driven subscriptions, which allow you to use a data set, a result set containing different parameters that you use to configure the subscription. So you configure one subscription and that goes to different audiences or with different messages or with different timeframes. I don't know, you send to the procurement the a report for the whole month, you send to the local department the sales or the report for the past week, and so on. That allows you to maintain less subscriptions and reduces the maintenance overhead. In my past experience, we had to work with hundreds of reports, and with hundreds of reports, if you have two, three subscriptions or parameter sets for each subscription for each report, we ended up with some thousands of subscriptions, and we couldn't really do what we did without data-driven subscriptions because it allowed us to really be efficient in sending those reports to the business, to the users that consume the data and take decisions based on the data. Um, and in the past couple of years, we've migrated our solution from on-premise infrastructure to cloud. Because we did that, and not only because of that, but Power BI has been growing so much, and the Power BI service is a really interesting solution from Microsoft. So we also migrated all our reporting solution to Power BI service, previously using the Power BI report services on-prem. But when we ended up there, actually, not when we ended up, but before we uh, took the decision to migrate also to Power BI service, we knew that the subscription capabilities of the Power BI service for paginated reports was slightly limited versus what you had in on-premise. And one of the limitations was that you didn't have data-driven subscriptions out of the box. The users could have created their own subscriptions, but what do you do when you change some parameters? Like I'm always giving you the um, data, let's say for the past week, but the past week always changes with every day that passes. And you also have access to that report where you can select yourself your custom date range. Oh, well, in those cases, we um, had to find a solution. And that solution was logical, if I may use the pun. We used Logic Apps. Logic Apps is a Microsoft Azure service that allows you to build low-code flows, workflows, or small applications, if I can call them like that, that can serve a specific purpose. Um, as a high-level flow, because subscriptions in SQL Server or reporting services subscriptions, you would usually create them in the reporting service portal, and then you'd have automatically a job created in your SQL Server instance configured for the reporting services. So all the necessary parts from scheduling, triggering automatically the subscription at scheduled times, and everything was basically handled by the service itself. Um, we didn't really have that anymore. We could have done a couple of things, but if we are using the latest technology, let's use actually the latest features that technology can provide. So in today's session, I will go through you in how to set up an Azure Data Factory pipeline that can act as an orchestrator to send subscriptions using a logic app that performs all the subscription, data-driven subscription needs, and sends the subscriptions, the report files to the user. High level, the logic app flow looks like this. I don't know if I have a pointer. Okay. So you would start with an HTTP trigger. I will tell you a little bit more about that during the demo. That receives some parameters. For example, what subscription you'd like to start. Then we will use a Azure SQL database that hosts some parameter subscription configurations that tells us where's the report, what are the parameters, and everything. Generates the report file through Power BI API, not directly the API, but the integration of the API with within Logic Apps, because that's the beauty of using integrated technologies from one provider like Microsoft, and then sends the report through an email And pretty much that's the flow. So without further ado, let me stop a little bit the presentation. And let's open our favorite tool, SQL Server Management Studio. Also, because it's gonna be a lot of demo, more of a demo session. If you have any questions, feel free to post them in the chat. And Benny or Oliver, if you can um, notify me
we'll
if
let you know
there are any
if anything
questions.
pops up.
That would be great. So for this demo, I have a database. It's a it's a Azure SQL database that has an AdventureWorks Lite database, and I've created some paginated reports that generate some sales by department um, uh, analysis or reports. And I have another database that hosts my configuration information. So to share a little bit about this, this would be the structure of the table, and this can vary from your needs. So I'm having some information that I need, like a batch number. If I have a very big report with, I don't know, many distribution lists that I don't want to send at once because I don't know, I may kill the um, Exchange server. I may want to batch um, that subscription. I have a subscription name, parameters for email information like to whom I'm sending the email, if I have any copy or blind copy, an email body, a report name, Power BI Workspace and Power BI Workspace identifier, and the Power BI report ID, and a set of parameters. Also, I have a file extension, which allows me to choose what extension or what format I would like to export my um, report, and the subject for the email, because it's always important to know what you are going to receive. I've already prepared a little some information. So let me, okay. So I have here a couple of configurations, and I will show you the report in a moment. So I have the subscription name. I have here some batch subscriptions. So I want to send multiple batches of the subscription with different needs. I have email to which I'm sending. I have a report name. I have a workspace ID, Power BI report ID, and some parameters. So to show you a little bit the report, the report is quite a simple one. So I have two parameters. I have a department parameter. I have this Power BI report builder here. So I have two data sets, one that gets me the product categories and one that gets me actual sales. And I have two parameters, the parent product category and generated for, to have a custom message within the report to know, I don't know, to whom that report is um, sent to, like a specific department, let's say. So nothing too worrying until now. How do we do it? So I already have my head. Yeah. a logic app here. This is a logic app that it's a blank logic app that accepts an HTTP request trigger. Second. Okay, and we will start from scratch. So once you create a new logic app, you'd be able to choose your specific trigger. You can choose from different configurations like recurrent triggers, or in this case, an HTTP request. So what do we do? As shown briefly in the flow before, when we receive the request, we want to have some parameters, and that's gonna be here a configuration where we want to have a property. So I think I will copy some code at some time. So we have to define a properties object here. And here we say exactly what's the parameter that we expect to have on the payload. So we'll have a parameter subscription name that's of type string, and type object, because this is an object itself. So that will be it. Then we want to actually get some information. And as I said, we store the configuration of our subscriptions in SQL Server database, Azure SQL database. So we can use the SQL Server component. And the easier way is to use the get rows, or you can actually have custom queries that you can use. For this demo, we'll use the get rows because that's gonna be easier. So I already have some the SQL Server created, and here I have the database, and here I will have the tables. In my case, I have only one table, subscription configurations. As I was showing you earlier, this is my table, and that's gonna be enough for now. So this will do our need. As I said at the beginning, we are gonna be searching for a subscription name. But if you paid attention to the configurations, I may have multiple subscription entries with the same subscription name because I have different needs. So in this case, we'll have to use an iterator, and you can find the iterator in the control block. And here we will just use a for each, where we use the value from the get rows, which is the component above. Okay. And now it's about how we can actually generate the subscription itself. So as I was saying, we're gonna use Power BI. I find it in recent because I've used it, but you can simply search in the search box, and I think it's connected. Okay. So here, what we're gonna use, it's gonna be the export to file for paginated reports. This component is a direct integration with the Power BI Service API. So Logic Apps right now is one way of doing it, and I will tell you a little bit more after the demo and what you can actually do differently about this. And as you can see, you can select workspaces it will show the workspaces that are connected to your account, and you can um, choose a workspace from there. But we want to go a little bit further in this demo because maybe I don't want to be blocked on creating one logic app for each need. Maybe I want to create something more generic. Well, here is what we're going to use the subscription configuration table for. So if you remember, I had a couple of things earlier. Let's if enter custom value. So here I will use the Power BI report ID, and here I will use the workspace ID. This information is actual information from the Power BI portal, which I just uh, figured out that I had shared already. So here is my workspace. It's called Demo Data Driven Subscriptions. It's a Power BI Premium per user because you need this for subscriptions to work. And I have two reports, and I'll get to that a little bit later. Right now is the category sales report, what I was showing you earlier. Okay, this one. So just a simple report. I can go to it and I can actually generate it too. So you can see something. So I have to choose between four options. So I'll use bikes and I will use this datamines.be. And what this report tells me is the category sales reports for my parent product category. Then I have parent product names. I can drill down into the different product names, total sales, and everything. So, and here is my audience name. So data mines B. Okay. And then if we go back here, I will use the workspace ID, which is the first part from this URL. This is the unique identifier for the workspace that you are going to use. And here we have the report ID, which is the unique identifier for the report within the workspace. Export format, here I will choose PDF. You can customize this one also, but I haven't added a column for the format. I have only an extension that can be used or can be adjusted quite easily. But our report has parameters, so we have to deal with parameters. How do we add parameters? You go here to add new parameter and you select the parameter values. This is a list of report parameters, which will be translated into a JSON list that will be sent as payload to the API. And now, if I had one report, I could simply say here, like, what was my parameter parent product category. I can put here parent product category and the value bikes and generate it for, I'm adding a new parameter and data mines that be. But I don't have only one report. I have tens or hundreds of reports. So that's why I have some dedicated fields um, in my configuration table that allow me to say the name. So I'll have to just read this one. This will just do the dynamic content for me to identify that column instead of typing myself items for each parameter one name. So we'll go here for parameter one value. Here I have second parameter, and here I will have the parameter to value. And if you're gonna have a look here, we'll see that we have the parameter name and the value, parameter name and the value. So this should be more than enough for this. What we go further, we will add a new step because we need to actually deliver this report to an user. So we're gonna use the email component, and we'll have Office 365 Outlook. It's easier for me. And we'll have the action to send an email. Send an email V2. This gives us the opportunity to specify to where we are sending an email. So let's go and use the properties that we have in our configuration. You can type the values yourself, or you can use it dynamically from the subscription configuration. So I will have the email to, I will have the email subject, I will have the email body, importance. Let's leave it to normal. It's holiday season. Okay. And we also want to, let's say, add CC or BCC and attachments. You can also use the send as if you have a specific address from which you want to run the send the reports. But for now, I'll use my own connection. 1 second. So a little bit my email. Okay, so in the attachments, because we are really interested in that, we have two fields to complete. We have attachment name and attachment content. For the attachment name, I will use it simpler like a report name concatenated with a file extension, which is .pdf. You can have a specific column for the file name, and that will be uh, directly the name of the file with the desired extension, but always make sure that you correlate your extension with the actual format on which you generate the file. And we have the content, which is the thing that we actually want. So in the content, we have this dynamic content from export to file for paginated reports action that happened before. And here we can choose the file content. So pretty much that would be it. Let's put also the CC here. And pretty much that will fulfill our need for now. Let's do a test. Let's run with payload. So here I will have to put my configuration. So subscription name, that subscription name is, let's use an easy one. So I have here a configuration that has only one subscription to send. So bikes category sales test. And let's run it. I hope I didn't typo. Then we also have this option to have a look at our running, our logic app runs. Here we'll see what happened. So the HTTP request was received. We can see exactly the values that we received. So the configuration that we've added, it's bikes category sales test, which is the right one. We can see what's the output of different actions. So our row, oh, I forgot to do something. So I'll cancel this one because we want to get the only specific rows, right? So let's also add a filter query here. Here, you have to specify an OData filter. That means that you can use, I don't know, another component, look exactly what is the case sensitive name of the column on which you want to filter. So in my case, it's subscription name. Here it will be subscription name equals, and I have to put the quotes and also specify the parameter from the HTTP request. This will filter automatically, will generate a query. Behind that will get all the data from the table name, where subscription name equals my input parameter. So let's save this and try to run it again.
Hi, Alexandru. I just have one question while we're waiting for the execution here. There's a question from Mario in chat. What if you have a different number of parameters for a different number of reports? Is it also possible to add blanks as parameters or as name values?
I like very much this question, and that's the next part that we're gonna do to see.
Excellent.
Because in a demo it's very easy to control everything, but the real life tells us that things are harder than we expect. So I will go through that question in just a couple of moments.
Yep, thank you so much.
I'm just saving this for ease of use. Okay, so running again, we can go ahead, see, okay, this was our rows. Okay, let me see. I've subscription name. See, because I've missed. Okay. Trigger with payload. Did I cut it earlier instead of copying it? Could be. No. Yeah, but I should put the right value. So this is what happens when you specify the wrong value of the parameter. You won't get the parameter. So let's try again. This time we should actually have a longer running instance. So we'll see again, we got the bikes category sales test subscription name. When we look at the rows, we have one row for the full configuration of our subscription. And now it goes through each row that you find from the get rows and generates the file. In the meantime, I also have this. Okay, this should have finished already. Let's see. Maybe if I will add the feedback to have some automated refreshes here. That would be really nice. Okay, it will take a little bit. It really depends on the capacity of your workspace, on the server load, the type of capacity that you use for the logic apps. Here I have consumption-based capacity. There are things that can be improved in terms of changes. So should usually finish faster, but it doesn't like me right now, I guess. The usual demo behavior, right? Okay, so it's finished. Now we see that our parameter values that were sent were the right ones. So parent product category bikes and generated for the sports department exactly as our configuration table. It outputted a file. which you can download from here, but why do that? And the email was sent. So if we go now, here is my demo email. You will see that I've received from myself an email with the automated report 01 category sales report. It's not fake param, but I'll get there. My email body, so exactly as I have it in my configuration, right? I have here dear receiver, find attached report generated daily, etc., etc. And I will see here my report, which was generated today at 6:09 UTC for sports department. And here I have all my information that I need. Okay. So yeah, right now the question, because in real life scenarios you would have not only one report, you may have dozens or hundreds of reports. For sure, you will not have um, this option to have only 2 or 3 parameters. So you may have maybe a total of, I don't know, 20, 30 parameters for all your reports. Depends on the use case. Unfortunately, um, when you're sending here, if you try to add a new parameter and you leave the values as blank, you will have a bad request because you are sending um, some empty values, but it expects something, the API behind. But there are some workarounds for that. On one side, you can try to standardize your parameters, which even if you do, you will have a good amount of parameters that will be specific to different needs. One option then would be to somehow um, cluster your reports. So I have my reports that have 3 parameters, and these are the 3 parameters, and I'm building a logic app only for that group of reports, and I am building a logic app for another group of reports that has 5 parameters, which can work, but really comes with a little bit more overhead, which is not what we want. That's why we try to use data-driven subscriptions to not have to configure so many things manually every time. And what happens if the report changes? One elegant solution, if I may say, is you can embed hidden parameters in your reports. That's why I have here this category sales report fake param. And here I have 3 parameters. I have 2 visible parameters, parent product category generated for. And I have a third start date parameter. In this report, I have no use for it. So I have it hidden. I am allowing blank values and null values. So I can actually send that parameter and the report will work even if it doesn't have a value. I'm not going to use this parameter anywhere in my report itself. Oh no, not 20, 30 parameters for a report. But for all the reports, you may end up to those numbers. Fortunately, I haven't had the chance to have reports with 30 parameters. So I have a hidden parameter. If in my user experience, it will not affect me at all because the user will not see that parameter. So the report will work as is. And what I can do, I can extend this. So I can go here and I say, okay, I want to also bring my third parameter. So parameter 3 name, and I'm saying dynamic content parameter 3 value. Now, what I will do is I save this. What I did earlier was actually executed this particular report. So this one with the 3 params. So if you have less params in the report, it will work. So if it's a hidden, not if it's a hid, not necessarily hidden, but allow blank param, you can omit sending that param through the API and the report will still generate. So right now I have all the 3 params, although I'm not using one, and this will work very well also. So let's put this subscription name. Let me also copy the right value here. So let's run it. I have this run history. So right now, if you see, I'm getting the same data because I do not mind. I'm okay with that report. And it will take a little bit of time. Then I'll try to check my inbox for my emails. For us, this was the most elegant solution that we found. It comes with a little bit of effort that you need to put because if you have, I don't know, 200-300 reports and 20-30 reports, you have to add to each report 20-30 parameters, which is not, may take some effort to do that. But it allows for the most generical approach. Another approach should be to really go and okay, so this finished. Have, I don't know, different categories or groups of reports based on the parameters that you use, and that will be all. So here you see that I've sent also the start date parameter with a value null, and everything was perfectly fine. I will also show you the email. So I have here the report. Again, everything is fine. So it was generated at 6:16 UTC, which is just 1.5 minutes ago. So that would be my recommendation. It really depends from the use case because you can have different approaches and have a mix of those things. Like if I have a workspace with, I don't know, 30, 40 reports, but I have a maximum number of 7 parameters, and out of which 4 parameters are actually um, um, reused. So I have the same parameter name or the same specific use for that parameter, then I can standardize and have all the 20, 30 reports with the 6 parameters. Otherwise, I can create different logic apps for each need. Here we will also, for the next step, because we want to start orchestrating this, we'll also have to add a response to our caller to wait for our response. So here is a response. We have this. So let's put it like subscription was delivered successfully. And okay. And we'll make this asynchronous. Okay, we'll save this. And let's talk a little bit about orchestration. So orchestration. I have here an instance of Azure Data Factory where I will just create one new pipeline from scratch. Generic subscription orchestrator. I will add a parameter, subscription name. And here I will just use a simple web action. So invoke logic app. That should be good. We'll have a setting. We have to put on the URL. The URL we will get from the HTTP request action or trigger. If you click on it, you will have here the HTTP post URL. You copy this, and then you go to your pipeline, you paste the URL, you select the post method because it tells you that it's a HTTP post URL. And here we put a body. You can put the value yourself, but we are trying to do things generically. So we'll use a dynamic content, and I will have here subscription name. So here it will be bracket. Okay. And let's also close this. So it should look fine. Subscription name, hopefully no typos. So that's okay. I don't need any authentication because it goes under Azure right now. What's a very important thing? If you want for your, and here you have different options. If you have a subscription that takes too much time, more than 10 minutes to generate, you don't want to wait for it to finish. So you will just register the call from Data Factory, and pretty much that's it. That's because you have a limitation on the HTTP request timeout up to 10 minutes. So if your subscription takes 15 minutes to deliver all the reports, you may not want to see the pipeline failed. So you will send a trigger and you can look in the logic apps to finish. If your subscription takes less than um, then one then 10 minutes, then you are safe to use a send and wait approach. So a synchronous approach to actually wait and see that the Azure Data Factory pipeline finished successfully. And here we will put the maximum timeout, which is, as I said, 10 minutes. Default is 1 minute. Pretty much that would be our pipeline orchestrator, let's say. So for this, I'll just use the debug option. It's easier. So I'm saying the subscription name, which was this. And yep, I'm sending this. Now, if we monitor the pipeline, we'll see that the invoke logic app web action started. We see that the body was subscription name bikes category sales test. And okay. And if we go to our logic app here in the runs history, we will see that it was triggered 1 minute ago. We check the HTTP request. We got the subscription name right. And we got the configurations, and now it iterates through each subscription configuration and sends it. And we will also see it in the email in a couple of moments. So actually finished Start. Yep. Okay. So you see here at 8:25 my time, I got this email, which was generated at 8:24:51 via the pipeline. So this from here, you're basically open to different needs. So you can create a new trigger. Let's say I want to trigger my other pipeline, so my other subscription. Let's put this one. I'm adding a new trigger for this value. Okay, I've triggered that now. My bad. You can also schedule triggers. So let's say trigger 1. Let's be surprised at 28:39. Whereas let's leave it on 50 minutes. Easier like that. Here you have the different types of events that you can use to trigger or schedule the trigger itself. And we'll put the OK. Here you have to put this value for your subscription for your parameter. So let's use, I didn't named it right, but we're gonna do it right now. So by subscription. Should I do this? Let's publish it. And at 8:28, it should also send the subscription automatically. In the meantime, because I've triggered it earlier, I should also have another run here. This will take a little bit more. And why is that? Because here we have two subscription configurations that are sent. One is sent for sales department and the other one is sent for sports department. And here, okay, let's see, it will take a little bit more. I don't know if we have a, it's not a question. Okay.
Alexandru, one question.
Yeah.
Mario was asking, are we able to parallelize the for each loop in the logic app, or is the limiting factor mostly the Power BI capacity size that you're using? But how can we scale this out if we wanted to?
I I think there are some limitations of the API, but I don't know them unfortunately by heart. But I'll share with you the REST API, and here it should tell. It's, okay. In theory, it should work. It really depends on those limits of the API, which I really don't know.
Yeah, uh, it's the API limits, and then as Mario says, the capacity that you're using. It has a maximum concurrent requests something
Yes.
number. I think
Yeah.
those two will be the defining factor.
Yeah. Right now I'm using the premium per user, I really don't know, because I think that the limit is different also from the capacity. So if you have a
Yeah.
P3 capacity, you'd have most likely a bigger limit of concurrent requests for exporting files.
Yeah.
But if you are really careful and you really manage your subscriptions in the right way, and you know, okay, I can have up to 5 reports that are being generated at the same time, you can parallelize indeed and really use that, so you don't really have to wait for it. But that's something that you need to take care of. In general, I would say that you should be able to parallelize in most cases, unless you really have like a big number of reports that are being generated at the same time. See, so we got one email 1 minute ago, so it was generated at 6:29, so about 3 minutes ago. This was one, and the other one most likely is being generated as we speak. You also have the option to generate for Power BI reports too. So if you go to the actions, here you will see that in the Power BI connector, come on, don't kill my typing. You have multiple options. So for exporting to files, you have also export to file for Power BI reports. So you can also use the same approach for export to file to Power BI reports as for paginated reports. Okay, it's like it takes a little bit more. Anyway, in the meantime, I don't know if it should also go. Oh, did I enable my trigger? I think I did not. So role level security. What
Yeah.
about it? I mean, because in the end, if you are running reports from the, let's say if you are generating the report files, you would have a service account that should have all the rights to read that data if you use the, I don't know, a Power BI data set or an Azure or an analysis services instance that would get the right data. If you use in the report, in the uh, dataset configuration for the report, if you use a service account that has limited rights, you would be affected by the role level security for the rights accepted by that service account. Other than that, you can actually use the same report from one workspace. If the user connects to the report and generates it themselves, then they would have the role level security applied to it according to your rules. And you can use the uh, service account different for a need because you actually link here. So here I'm linking with my account. My account has rights that will be transmitted to the report as if you were the user that impersonates. So here you would create a connection with the service account. For my needs, because I don't really have a complex thing here, I'm using a SQL authentication for the report itself. Yeah, thank you, Benny, for the clarification on the capacity and the limits.
Yeah. It pops up at least once or twice every week in my job. So it's an answer that I've got on copy paste.
That's great. So I hope, sir, I've answered your question about row-level security. Here it went a little bit faster because I already had the connection created. You can go here, add a new connection, and here you will have a pop-up to sign in into your accounts, and the accounts that you already have are already connected. You can add a new account. Okay, let me, because it's resetting my connection. Um, you can connect with the service account that you use, and that will go as you need. For this, here, trying to see exactly what you check. So parameter values. Here you can add dynamic content to this, but you'd have to deal with the whole JSON expressions and everything. So you can do a thing. For example, what you can do to that, and actually that is also a nice solution. Uh, you can, I don't know, have a view or have the full list of parameter values here in the right format. So you have an array of JSON objects with name, value, and everything, and you put it directly instead of adding the list. So really nice point, Ken, there. Yeah, that's also a way to do it. So you format your JSON in your database or you store directly the parameter configuration. What would be harder, but maybe you can wrap it up. So you can have the configuration table in with all the parameters, and then you have a view on top of it that just concatenates all the non-null values, and you create the list in that view. So you have the flexibility. Because you will also want to maybe update your parameters from time to time, or you have different uh, tables that you use for the parameters. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Okay. Um, so.
Hey, Alexandru, one question from Silvio that pops up.
Mhm.
How often do you have your clients request this type of service slash solution? Are there any other Azure tools you use in combination with Power BI?
So pretty much we had this need coming from clients that migrated their solutions to Power BI service, have been using data-driven subscriptions before with uh, reporting services or Power BI reporting services. And for those because if they moved their whole infrastructure to cloud and they didn't want to keep the instance of Power BI reporting services or reporting services, they they had this need to have uh, another way of having data-driven subscriptions um, for Power BI service. As for other Azure tools with Power BI, well, we use from Logic Apps to Power Apps, and I will come to that a little bit later. I don't know, automation accounts, what else? Uh, Functions. For the API itself, you can use a big uh, uh, a big list of services from Azure to access any API. It's about how fast and how efficient you can do it from those services, because everything that I've done here, um, you can actually build um, in programming language like Python. You can build a Python script or a PowerShell script or something else, but you need to maintain it. The beauty part of logic apps or power apps, for that matter, because these two are quite similar to some extent, is the fact that you go with a low code approach. So you don't really have to know extensively a programming language or a scripting language to build such a flow. As you see, we've built this together from scratch in a matter of minutes, so you can do it really quick. Um, mm, these are the main Azure tools that we used with Power BI, at least the ones that come in mind. Come come in mind right now. I think we have another question with regarding the cost. Cost of what exactly? The implementation or the cost of running these things?
So it's
Okay, both.
the cost of both. Yeah.
Okay, so regarding running, it depends on the logic apps tier that you use. So if you go to the pricing calculator from Azure, you will see that where's the consumption? Okay, so the consumption plan is you have the first 4,000 actions for free. So if you have less than 4,000 executions per month, you have uh, you can do this for free, basically, which is great. Most likely, we have almost 3,000. I think we have some projects where we have about 3,000 subscriptions that some of them run daily, some of them run weekly. So you end up to some big thousands executions per month. In those cases, you pay per execution. How many is it? 4 zeros, 25 cents. So quite a small price, if you ask me. And for the data factory, again, you have, I think, the first 10,000 uh, pipeline executions for free. I don't know. Let me see. But there was some uh, integrated or not anymore. No. So on here, but it's not the data pipeline. 1 second. I don't know if this applies or it will go for orchestration. So you pay €1 for 1,000 runs. Not too big either. Um, as for the implementation costs, this usually goes with our teams. We don't offer this necessarily as a service. We have dedicated teams like business intelligence teams or teams that perform migrations from on-premise to um, cloud, or I don't know, let's say the reporting solution migrated from on-premise to Power BI service, and this kind of service is included uh, if there is a need for it. Yeah, my pipeline didn't run because I think I did not enable the trigger. I can do it, maybe. Okay, so it started. Let me see. Okay, oh, it's in progress. So it had to wait a little bit. Oh, okay. Oh, it's running every 15 minutes. So it started at 8:26. Oh, okay, so No, it was running in parallel here. So most likely here it timed out. I'm looking at the message. Yeah, no receive from the upstream server because it timed out because the other execution was already um, looking executing. So because the limit of 5 requests per 1 request every 5 minutes, it overlapped. We should actually see it. Yeah. So right now it's running. Um, so running Python in the Logic app. I don't know if you have this option. I haven't used Python in the Logic app because again, Logic app is mm, the low code offering. So it doesn't really make sense to use Python, although I think you can check around, but I doubt it. Uh, I haven't
If you
even
want to
searched
use
for it.
Python, I'd suggest
You'd
looking at
already
using
go for
functions.
functions,
Yeah.
yeah, functions or custom code directly. Um, so, or I don't know, other scripting services. What you can use Python, for example, if you don't want to have the ADF pipeline, you can have Python scripts that you run through the, I don't know, let's say Windows Server scheduler, and you run those scripts to trigger your HTTP with the right subscriptions. Now, it's not the best way, but you can do. And this as a flow is quite extensible. So moving back to, I think, the presentation, I should also see the emails though. So yeah, 8:45, I already started receiving the emails from the pipeline. Um, Overall, this approach goes really nice for solving this need for data-driven subscriptions using the Power BI service. Um, you have this benefit of integrating almost seamlessly the different services from Microsoft. And that's a really nice thing because even if you don't have extensive programming or scripting experience, you can build such a framework to have data-driven subscriptions yourself. So you don't really have to go and ask your colleague, okay, do you know Java or do you know Python? Can you help me build this API orchestration system? You have flexibility because you can choose Data Factory, you can choose Python, you can choose other tools that are sending the requests. Yes, thank you, Benny, for the reminder of the questions. And you can have scalability depending on the capacity that you use, depending on what you choose. So here I've used Logic Apps. For Logic Apps, I've chosen the consumption based. You can have dedicated capacity for Logic Apps, meaning that the triggering will take faster because you have reserved resources and so on. Also, regarding the flexibility, this is the way I've implemented it in Logic Apps. You can pretty much do the same. I think you also have the option to export your Logic app to Power Apps because there's also the Power Platform event in February. So you can try to to go to that event, learn some Power App skills, and then try to do the same in Power App. And you are not limited to anything because you are using a REST API. So depending on the skills that you have or you have around you, you can use pretty much any language that can do HTTP requests. So that would be it for the presentation. I don't know if there are other questions. I think this one is for you, Benny. Uh, but I don't think so.